Hello everybody, this is Brian O'Haron. I've got a brief introduction to last week's program, which I'm going to repeat tonight for those who didn't get a chance to see it. I've been asked to do that by people in town because they didn't know it was going to be on. So anyway, here it is. I'm going to now just talk for a second or two about each of these slides because they'll be talked about on all the other programs. You can see them in the newspapers and on TV and things like that. Letters to the editor, all that kind of thing. But anyway, the Waterbury Republican last week, after I already recorded my show, a day or two after, they had an editorial in their paper, and that's unusual for them because the last time around they backed the liberal lemmings that are in power now and have been with 5 people in there, who've been doing a lot of the harm to the town. So this is an editorial which says, don't vote again for people that are running again for office because there is no accountability in Winston. Now, it's a longer article than that. You can read it in either of the libraries if you look at the Waterbury Republicans in the history file. The next slide will show you that the $600,000 insurance has been received since my last program. That's a one-time payment. It's built into the budget, and it won't be there recurring next year, so they're going to have to find a way to fill that in. $400K Gilbert line of credit, I'm told, has been approved, although I haven't seen any official on that. There's rumors about that. The town manager reported to rebut a superintendent's article that was in the paper in the Waterbury Republican. I don't know about, I think it was also in the Register Citizen. You can look online or you can go to the library and read those. And there's a meeting with the state tomorrow to bring them up to date with where we stand. Next slide. The superintendent and Region 7 have ants in their pants. They're very worried about not getting paid and not making payroll because of all the rumors circulating in town and anxiety. And they've asked the state, they've written letters to the state to act and make sure they get their money and take issue with the town. There's a little bit about that in yesterday's Register Citizen. You can read that either online or buy the paper or go to the library and see it in the files. Now, next slide is the new school number. I did not include in any of the numbers you're going to hear on the program tonight. So that's another X million dollars they want on top of everything else that I did list in this program you'll see later. Water and sewers, my opinion is that the water and sewer users were the victims of this whole catastrophe and shouldn't have been. And the water and sewer users should not vote for the incumbents. Doesn't mean you'll get your money back, doesn't mean you won't get more increases, but at least you can show your disfavor with them for handling you that way and being unfair to the water and sewer users by increasing their taxes to help pay for management problems and accountability problems of the past. Those who owe the town, I'd be very careful there. I wouldn't vote for any incumbents either. If you still won't be able to get out of owing the money, but I would vote no for any incumbents because they put you in a pickle here. With that, we're now going to repeat last week's program. A few months ago, at a local coffee shop, I introduced myself to John Grappo the Mason and the fiscal conservative Democrat that did so much for our town over the years. He said, "Are you a poet?" I said, "No, but you're close." I asked him if he could get other fiscal Democrats to talk to the incumbents and try to get them to act rationally in the best interests of the town, as any business person would. He said he didn't think that they would listen to him or the others, as they are liberals. I told him they won't listen to me either. Shortly after, within weeks, he passed away. I was working on some new stone walls lately, and I thought of him. This recitation tonight is dedicated to him. Rest in peace, John Grappo. Here's a song I sang to you often before. I've changed the words because of the financial score. Your property taxes will now begin to soar, as is most likely forevermore. They have drifted too far from the shore. We can't let them continue anymore. They have drifted too far from the shore. The incumbent lemmings in power have gone too far. After 10 years, their additional profitable revenue won't fill a small jar. The schools keep begging for more while continuing with their very low test scores. They've drifted too far from the shore. We can't let them continue anymore. They have drifted too far from the shore. They spend more than voters approve every year. They collect less revenue than they project, while hiding the truth from the public out of fear. Gross mismanagement has now had its effect. They've drifted too far from the shore. They've drifted too far from the shore. We can't let them continue anymore because they have drifted too far from the shore. Town debt is increasing as the lemmings stand by. A large deficit headed high into the sky. The town's credit rating has been reduced for a fourth time. Now the town's credit is probably not worth a dime. They've drifted too far from the shore. They've drifted too far from the shore. We can't let them continue anymore because they have drifted too far from the shore. They say outstanding bills still haven't been paid. Gobs of money said to be missing along the way. The cash flow continues to be a dangerous mess because the incumbent lemmings have been taking a 10-year rest. They've drifted too far from the shore. Yes, they've drifted too far from the shore. We can't let them continue anymore because they have drifted too far from the shore. The streets still haven't been paved. The bridges and revenue are not being saved. The charter is not always being followed. Some state statutes seem to be lying too fallow. They've drifted too far from the shore. Yup, they've drifted too far from the shore. We can't let them continue anymore because they have drifted too far from the shore. The auditor's past recommendations over the years were always ignored. Financial checks and balances have been deplored. When brought to their attention, they were floored, looking to place blame on anyone else to settle their score. They've drifted too far from the shore. Yes, they've drifted too far from the shore. We can't let them continue anymore because they have drifted too far from the shore. The town charter, they again want to change in their efforts to fend off the blame. The Water and Sewer Commission is a victim as well. The incumbent lemmings' efforts continue to smell. They've drifted too far from the shore. Yes, they've drifted too far from the shore. We can't let them continue anymore because they have drifted too far from the shore. For the charter change and current incumbents, I'm voting no. The incumbent lemmings can't manage what they have now. Their hidden, no development agendas continue to show the Water and Sewer Commission always wanted to grow. They've drifted too far from the shore. Yes, they've drifted too far from the shore. We can't let them continue like this anymore. The incumbent lemmings have drifted too far from the shore. Led by a small group of environmental extremists around Highland Lake, the incumbent lemmings are taking their toll on the town and the lake. Many desperate residents don't recognize their head fake. As a result, their town and lake are being further run down. They've drifted too far from the shore. Those lemmings have drifted too far from the shore. We can't let them continue anymore because they've drifted too far from the shore. At the coming election on November 5th, please do not re-elect incumbents for any boards. Let's give the well-educated and vibrant, eager first-timers a chance. Then perhaps the town's financial condition can be enhanced. They've drifted too far from the shore. These incumbents have drifted over the years too far from the shore. We can't let them continue like this anymore because they've drifted too far from the shore. Well, hi everybody. I'm going to try to help here before the election at the request of many people in town that I have a show or two to try to get across to people the fiscal conservative viewpoint and the depth of our problem here. I won't be dealing with too many details on this half hour that I have each week. I hope I can get it repeated on weekends. If not, it'll be on Wednesday nights at 6 until at least the election or close to it. But following me at 6:30, you can see James Roberts, who's a fiscal conservative Democrat. I am unaffiliated fiscal conservative, don't belong to the parties. And following that, you can see crossing the divide, two fiscal conservatives from the Republican Party. And then the Republicans will have their own program sometime during the week. The Democrats will have their own program. The Taxpayer Association related independent party, the Independent Party, will have its own program, and you're going to get a chance to see all the points of view, see all the candidates, and go from there. So with that, I'm going to go to the first slide, and we're going to go pretty quickly tonight. But we have big financial problems in this town, and they will be explained on the other programs. Now, I will warn you that the Democrats are mainly liberal, very liberal, mostly, some of them from the lake, extremely liberal and extremely conservative, way over on the left-hand side of the normal distribution curve. So you got to be a little careful. They often say things that they don't mean to try to get your votes, and they will do their best to try to camouflage any of the real problems that happened during their career. That's why we're going to have these other programs to try to balance all this for you, and that you can sum up the thing for yourself. So we have big financial problems. I'm not going to talk about them. All the other programs will. You read about it in the newspapers, etc. So what I want to say now is we're going to turn to the next slide, and we're going to go through these slides pretty fast. So at the rate that we are proceeding, and this is just Brian's view, everybody's going to quibble about it. The town's going to say, no, that's not a problem. But John Grappo is one of his associates, John Michikowski, who was a Democrat fiscal conservative in Torrington for 20 years, and Mr. Route 8 and father of the lottery. And he worked with John Minetto and John Grappo when they got Route 8 up here. But he told me it takes about 10 or 15, maybe more years to do anything substantially in politics. So at the rate that we are proceeding, and I'm watching it pretty close, as are a lot of people, and I have a lot of experience. I have a math degree and a lot of business experience. But we're proceeding, at the rate we're proceeding now, and Fracasso's tried to bring this up at the meetings, it's going to take 10 or 20 years to recover. So on the next slide, you're going to see is that unless a rich uncle shows up and shortens that time frame by giving us a lot of money, I wouldn't expect too much from the naders, but maybe they can find some government money or some rich uncle somewhere to help us out. Or voters approve a large tax increase or two, supplementary tax increase or two over the next few months. Or a year or so, whatever is forced upon us, or the state steps in and forces a large tax. Now, on the if the Selectmen Finance Board put one forward, we get to vote on it. If the state comes in, I don't think we get to vote on it. Next slide. So it's wise, and that's mainly what this program is about tonight. It's wise to prepare for a very large tax increase or two very soon. It could be one or two. If we have two, the first one will be 15% or so, probably. Now, it could be less, it could be more, we don't know for sure. It's very hard to get any facts in this town. It's very hard to get a cash flow forecast. It's very hard to get a revenue projection. It's very hard to get an expense projection. It's always mañana. It's going to happen tomorrow, going to happen tomorrow. But so far we haven't got it. So we that run businesses and know a lot about this financial stuff, we always take a conservative view. So it's best for you as a family to plan on perhaps before Christmas or the New Year, perhaps afterwards, because if the Democrats have their way, they'll try to stall it off, and the town manager and the Democrats will stall it off till the beginning of next year after the election's over, after November 5th. So it could happen sometime after that. And if we don't get a larger tax increase in that time frame, then the next slide we're looking at another 15% or so more on top of that, perhaps next year, when everybody realizes how deep this problem is and how much we need to resolve the problem ourselves, or the state steps in and says, okay, 15 or 20 or 30 or whatever percentage we need, you must pay. And that's going to really rock the town. We're going to really rock the town. On the next slide, you'll see that we're also going to have normal annual budget increases. That's going to happen. They might try to combine some of these things, have a little less in the supplementary tax and a little more in the annual tax. But I want to warn you that the higher the annual tax is, that's going to be recursive. It's going to keep happening every year. The supplemental tax will be a one-off tax, and then they have to go back to the drawing board in the next budget to see what the mill rate will be for the following year. So there is a trade-off there. Next slide. Now, that's plus additional taxes for numerous capital projects. There's, $10-12 million worth of capital project hanging around here that have to be done over in the future. Right now, it's hard for us to borrow at any rate because we have a poor credit rating and we don't have any money in the bank and all that kind of thing, which the other programs will talk more about that. But, that's going to be in our future as well. Maybe some of this stuff will all add up to break our back. We're not sure yet. But if it breaks our back, then I guess that's when the state steps in and tries to protect us, we, the residents of the town, from our own management. Next slide. Begin planning now as a family. That's what I'm trying to get the message across to you tonight. Don't listen to all the people that are trying to say that, oh, everything's fine, everything's wonderful, and all that. Take a realistic plan for your family. Do it right now. Next slide. I want to say to you that the savings account's been depleted, and these are just generalities here. Millions missing, vendors owed from last year in this, town and school payments being delayed for this year, pension and other monies missing, no accountability at the Selectmen Board of Finance, town manager level. It goes on and on and on. Accountability in our town is almost not existent. They all blame everybody else. You can see that at every meeting. I just saw it again the other night at the last select meeting I watched. You're going to see it. Next slide. November 5th, 2013 is election day. I've got the town piggy bank here, and I'm going to shake it for you. See? It's empty. There is no money in here. This is the town piggy bank, right? So what you have to do to begin to save now and to prepare now for these large taxes that are coming, they're not going to be zero, and they're not going to be minimal. They're going to be large one way or the other. I may have the numbers a bit too high, I may have them a bit too low. As time passes, we'll know more concretely what these numbers may be. So what you have to do, you'll see a bunch of piggy banks in back of me there, and I'm going to put those up on the screen so you can see them a little closer, but those are your piggy banks. And what you're going to have to do now as a family is you're going to have to look at each of your piggy banks. Let's say the red one on the top is for your retirement, and you got money saved in an account for your retirement. Or the one, the orange one on the top is for one of your children's educations, or all your children's educations. The yellow one on the top is for any kind of charities you want to give to charity. You might have a whole bunch of money there that you can tap into. You might want to take a look at any vacation money you might have planned there. The green one in the second row, maybe that's for your children when you pass away, and you leave them some money to help them in their retirement and with their future. The next one over, a little lime one, that might be for your grandchildren and their education. The blue one on the bottom might be for medical emergencies, above and beyond what your insurances will pay for and all that. The purple one could be for anything, whatever you want it to be, and the same with the pink one down the bottom. Now, what I want to point out to you is you as a family better start looking close at your income, your savings, and how much you got in all these piggy banks, and try to put together a plan to be able to raise the 15%, 15%. If that occurs, the more increase for all the capital projects. That'll probably happen sooner or later. And all the money that we're going to need to make up for all this debt we have, and for all these deficits we have, and for future growth, and for obtaining more revenue. It goes on and on and on. So you're going to have to look at your piggy banks, have a plan to figure out how you're going to put the money into the town piggy bank, because eventually you are going to get hit. I hope I'm wrong. I'll be the first one to be tickled pink if I am. But you better start looking now. You better start saving now. And you better start planning now. Maybe you got to look for a new job. Maybe you got to leave town. Maybe you got to sell your house. Those things are happening already in our town. And I'm not trying to scare you here, but unlike the lemmings, you can't always just talk about the good things that are happening, because most of the good things that are happening in our town are business as usual and will keep us in the pickle we're in right now. And we don't want to let that keep happening. So you got to face the fact. You're probably going to get a big tax increase, so you better plan to be able to handle it. And again, the next slide we'll put back up is November 5th, 2013. That's election day. That's when you're going to be re-electing our finance board, our board of selectmen, the board of education members that are running for office, the town clerk, and other their constables and things like that. And then there's going to be a big decision on whether we want to change the charter or not. I don't recommend changing the charter. You make your own decision on that. But I think they're just trying to blame the charter, the Water and Sewer Commission, for a lot of the problems that they should have been watching. Most people in town feel that the Board of Selectmen along the way over the last 10 years and the Board of Finance should have been more attentive, more accountable, and they should have paid more attention to the audits they were given and things like that. Next, I want to say, leave the charter as it is. No change. Don't change the charter. It was put into the Water and Sewer Commission, was set up because things were being abused 10 years ago. We don't want to change it again and give it to people who can't even manage the money they have right now. Why give them the water and sewer when they can't even manage what the town and all the schools and everything else that we have right now? So that's my view. You do what you please. Next, I say vote all the incumbents out of office. I'm getting a lot of feedback from people around town that say, Brian, we got to get these incumbents out. They're killing us. Let's get them out of office. So where you can help yourself to keep to not have so much pressure on your piggy bank is to vote these incumbents out. Now you're still going to get the big taxes, but maybe if we get the incumbents out, we can actually start talking sensibly. I heard at a recent selectmen meeting a self-made multimillionaire at a young age arguing with two tenured, high-profile school teachers that probably once belonged to the strongest union in the country about how to run the finances of the town. The biggest mismatch I've seen in many, many years there. I would listen to the guy who knows how to manage money and who's made it big. Next, we're going to vote capable new candidates into office. That's what you want to do. You got a lot of good people here. And remember, most of our industries, especially the computer industry, that was set up by 20 and 30-year-olds, and they ran all these big companies and still do to this day, a lot of them. And there's a guy in Torrington, Ryan Bingham. He ran for mayor when he was 22 years old, right out of college. He's done a wonderful job for 8 years. Now he's leaving that job and going off into raise his family and other things in a private business. But I want to say to you, it's your choice. It's nobody else's choice. But you got to pay attention. You got to do the right thing, and that means to vote right on November 5th and to plan to be able to pay these taxes when you get hit with them without killing your family. So I think that that's about what I have to say tonight. I'll be repeating this program. Keep an eye on James Roberts, who comes on at 6:30 on Wednesday nights, and Crossing the Divide, which comes on right after that. James is 30 minutes, and they're 30 minutes. And then you got all kinds of programs on, as I mentioned earlier. Watch all of them, get as much input, talk to every single person who knocks on your door. But you got to be careful, again, of people who will tell you one thing and mean another, and try to keep the other secret. And that's what's happening on our boards right now and commissions. It's very, very hard to get the truth, but some of us are experienced at that. We can read between the lines, we can do our homework, we can find out what's really going on. We're not all perfect, but that's what we want to do. With that, I say good night, watch the programs, get yourself up to speed, vote on November 5th. Try to vote the right way for your family, your relatives, your friends, your neighbors, and your future generations. Thank you very much. Here's a song I sang to you often before. I've changed the words because of the financial score. Your property taxes will now begin to soar, as is most likely forevermore. They have drifted too far from the shore. We can't let them continue anymore. They have drifted too far from the shore. The incumbent lemmings in power have gone too far.